All right, this is the next video. We got operations with radicals. So now that we know how to simplify them, we're going to work on adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing them, and the different ways that they can react. All right, so what we're going to work on first is adding and subtracting. And as you know, by the end of the video, I should be able to do these three things. Okay, so take a minute, read those over, make sure we know how to do them. Okay, now adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting, you can add the coefficients if the radicals are the same. So just like we do with variables, right? So if we have two variables that are exactly the same, like 1x and 2x, we can add those together. The same thing goes for radicals. So for example, here in the first one, we have 5 radical 2, 3 radical 2, and 2 radical 2. They all have the same radical. So these can be put together. So we're just going to add or subtract the numbers in front. So for this one, we would have 8 radical 2 minus 2 radical 2. And then I would take 8 minus 2, and I would get 6 radical 2. Kind of like the same idea as if we had x's or y's or any other variable that we're used to using. Now, an issue that we can present comes up in the second question here is what do we do if the radicals are different? Well, the first thing you want to do is simplify them, because when we simplify them, they might turn out to be the same. If they turn out to be the same, we can add them together or subtract them. If they don't turn out to be the same, then we're just going to kind of leave it alone. All right, so first we're going to simplify square root of 18. We did that in the last video. So I got to find a number that's a perfect square that goes into 18. We're going to square root of 9, square root of 2. Square root of 9 is perfect, so it comes out as 3. So this I'm going to rewrite as 3 radical 2 plus whatever I get for 2 square root of 27. Now, a little new here, we got a number in the front. So what I like to do for that is I just put the 2 here, and then I'm going to break down my 27 as I have in the last video, and the same concept as 1 being a perfect square and 1 not. So for 27, we're also going to have square root of 9 and square root of 3 this time. Now, the square root of 9 is a perfect square, so it comes out as a 3. So the one thing that's different here is I have two numbers that are outside the radical. And what I do with that, since in between here is kind of like multiplication, just multiply these two numbers together. So here I'm going to get 6 radical 3. We do run into an issue now because these radicals are not the same. Okay, so if that's the case, then you can't really simplify any further with addition or subtraction. So you're done. All right, that would be the end of that question. You don't have to simplify any further. Okay, now let's talk about multiplying. Multiplying radicals. Um, with multiplying radicals, you multiply what's on the outside and you multiply what's on the inside. So since there's no coefficients, there's nothing on the outside, we're just going to multiply what's on the inside, and we're going to keep it on the inside, and we're going to get square root of 20. When you multiply, if your final answer can be simplified, you must simplify it. You have to keep going. So with square root of 20 here, I can break that down to square root of 4 and square root of 5. All right, square root of 4 is a perfect square. It comes out as a 2. And my final answer here would be 2 square root 5. I have to make sure I do that. All right. The next one is supposed to be multiplication. I made a little bit of a mistake, so I apologize. This should be multiplication. So again, multiply the numbers on the outside and multiply the numbers on the inside. So we multiply the numbers on the outside, we get 2 times 4 is 8. And we multiply square root of 15 and square root of 3, and we get square root of 45. Now again, since I multiply, I have to check to see if I can simplify square root of 45. So I'm going to look to see if I have two numbers that I can multiply up to 45. Like I said, with this extra number here, it's listed on top, and I think about the 45. The 45's got a square root of 9, and it's also got a square root of 5. 9 times 5 is 45. 9 is a perfect square, so that comes out as a 3. And then what I say last time, the numbers that are on the outside get multiplied together, and the 5 stays the same. So we should have 24 square root of 5. Okay, that would be my final answer here. Now the last one has a little bit of division in it, right? And that's okay. It's going to follow the same steps here. So we have 18 and 32, both things that we have to simplify. So we have to simplify 18 and we have to simplify 32 first before we can kind of add, subtract, or get into anything else. So square root of 18, so we know we've done square root of 18 a bunch of times. Square root of 9, square root of 2. So I get 3 and I get 3 radical 2. That's going to be my answer. So my 18 gets simplified to 3 radical 2, and then I'm going to do my 3 radical 32 separate. So we said the 3 gets written down anyway. 32, okay. I have the answer key, so it's a little easier. You might have to use your calculator to figure out these numbers. So I got square root of 16 and square root of 2. Square root of 16 is 4, okay. So 3 times 4, right, is 12. I have 12 radical 2 here, and that's going to go in for 3 radical 32. So we have this over 5. Now, these two radicals are exactly the same. They're both square root of 2, so I can simplify. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take 3 radical 32 and add it to 12 radical 2, and we're going to get 15 radical 2 over 5. Now, division has the same property of multiplication. We divide what's on the outside, and we divide what's on the inside. So there's a 15 and a 5 on the outside. We can divide those, and we get 3. And since there's nothing down here to divide by the radical 2, it just kind of stays. So my final answer here would be 3 radical 2. All right, and that's the toughest stuff that you'll see for simplifying radicals. The most important, again, is always go back to your success criteria and check just exactly what you need to know. You need to be able to do addition and subtraction, you need to be able to do multiplication, and then you need to be able to use multiple operations all at once. So those are kind of the 3 things that we have to hit on when we go through these examples. So again, any new vocabulary words, please list, summarize the video, and write down any questions that you have. And again, get through the practice questions, ask me if you need some help, and then you're ready to take the second mastery check.